Hello, everyone. Welcome to your first day of getting into the Java programming language. The plan for this series is to pretty much teach you about Java, how to get started the easy way, and pretty much walking you through it step by step. So let's go ahead and get in. So basically, the goals that we want to cover in this course, in this series, is basically learning about Java fundamentals. So that means we're not necessarily going to deep dive into the advanced complex things of Java, but this is really for the people who are just ready to start learning Java and want to take it step by step. So the goal is to pretty much teach you the easy way to get involved into Java and help you build that confidence in programming, which you can later apply and continue to learn the complex things that comes with it, and apply it to your real world scenarios. So before we get into what Java is, first let's cover what programming is. So basically what you need to know is programming is just consider it giving instructions to a computer. So in order to give these instructions to a computer, you have to write it in a programming language. So you may have heard of programming languages such as Python, C++. So in this course, we're going to be teaching the programming language of Java. So again, what are we learning? Java. And in my opinion, if you learn Java, all the other languages come pretty easy after that. So what exactly is Java? So Java is what we considered a high-level programming language, and it's actually currently owned by Oracle. So if you've heard of the company Oracle, they are the ones that currently own Java. They bought it out from another company, Sun Microsystems, but Oracle is the one who is responsible for Java now. And basically, you can consider this as an object-oriented programming language, which again, we will get into a little later on. So the things that you need to know about Java is basically it's platform independent. That means it can run on various operating systems, whether it's Linux, whether it's um, Windows. It doesn't necessarily matter what platform you're using. They all can basically run Java if you install the correct components to do so. It's also object oriented, which I just mentioned, and you will learn a little bit later on what that means. It's secure and robust, and it's widely used. So, again, Java is one of the more popular languages, which is why it is being taught. And again, like I said, if you learn Java, it's a little bit easier to pick up other languages, as Java can be considered one of the more complex languages out there. So, what are some uses? So, Java is used in Android app development along with another programming language called Kotlin. It's also used for big data, video games, web servers, embedded systems. So, those would be like devices and robots and things of that nature. But there are a lot of uses. As I stated, Java is very complex and it does offer a lot of development opportunities to developers. So, there are three main components that make up Java. All of these three components work hand in hand to get that language running and get it to your computer to understand what to do. So, there's a JDK, there's a JVM, and there's a JRE. So, the JDK is what we consider a Java development kit. So this is basically the software that's used to create, run your Java programs. So it has various components, which is a compiler, a JRE, libraries and tools, and debuggers. So all of these are involved in a Java development kit. Then your JVM, so that stands for a Java virtual machine. And this is basically what powers your Java programs to run and compile so that your computer can understand. So without this component, basically your computer wouldn't understand anything that you wrote. Because again, for a computer to understand um, what you're saying for it to do, it has to be in binary, which is zeros and ones. And basically, your Java virtual machine is what does that. It's what compiles it and tells your computer, hey, this is what this program code is in zeros and ones. So think of Java as a translator. So you write the instructions once and the JVM translate it so it can run on different devices, such as, Android, Windows, or even Mac devices. They can also run on any device that has a JVM. So this is why it is used by different platforms. If you install a JVM on any device, then Java can run. So that is one of the good things about Java, and that is why you can either write it on Windows or Mac or even a Linux device. The last component is called a JRE, or a Java Runtime Environment. And this is a software that will basically allow the program to run, hence runtime environment. And the components within this are the JVM, class libraries, files, and tools. Again, I know that, you know, all of these are just words to you, so I do have a visual that will help you kind of piece all of these parts together. So here we have a display that shows you those three components that we were just talking about. So if you see, the green box is what is considered the JDK, so the Java Development Kit. And inside of the Java Development Kit holds everything you need to run Java. Now, if you look to the square to the left, you see that there is the JRE, which is the Java Runtime Environment. So this is actually where all of your code running occurs on the left side. The right box is the tools that you use to write your code, piece it together, fix it. But the left side is where you actually are doing all of your coding and how your code is running. So the Java Runtime Environment. Now, inside of the Java Runtime Environment, you're going to have the Java Virtual Machine, which is the machine that is actually going to be doing the running. And then you have libraries that you can use that will work with the Java Virtual Machine to pretty much create the runtime environment, the environment that is running your code. And again, all of these are within the JDK, the Java Development Kit. So this is how all three of those components work, and that's what we will be using to write our code in this course. So here's another visual to kind of help piece it together, and this will make more sense as we continue on the course. But let's say you create a file called geeks.java. So you're writing your code, and this is going to be technically in English readable format, or the programming language. So this would be like your normal Java programming code that I'll be covering in this course. Once you write it, you put it into the compiler. So the compiler is then going to do what it needs to do to translate that. It's going to pass it through, and it's going to grab the class that it's in, which again, we will cover this. It's going to grab the class, it's going to take the class, put it into the Java virtual machine to then run the code to translate it to your binary, your zeros and ones, which you see on the bottom. And it pretty much will turn into a program that will then run on your computer because your computer understood what it was saying based on the binary. And then your output shows. So, excuse me. So, I don't necessarily want to get too deep into exactly that full process because, again, we are just starting. So, it was just more so introducing you to the idea of what's going on in the background. But as we continue to go through this course, it'll make more sense. So, obviously, I just mentioned that you need to write your code, and there are going to be environments that are needed to write your code, and these environments are what we call IDEs, which also stand for Integrated Development Environments. So, this is the software we will be using to write, test, and fix or debug our code. So, it includes a code editor, a compiler within it to get your code compiled and translated for your computer. It includes libraries that you can use to help you build your code, and it includes a debugger. And a debugger is what we call your fix-it tools, like your toolbox that you take. You use this tool to help you walk through issues and get those issues resolved. So some examples of Java IDEs are NetBeans, Eclipse, and Visual Studio Code. Now, NetBeans and Eclipse are strictly for Java programming language, whereas Visual Studio Code is more of an IDE that allows you to work with more than one programming language. So in the industry, a lot of people do go with Visual Studio Code because they may switch between Python, they may switch between C++, or doing HTML, CSS stuff. So Visual Studio Code is the all-in-one spot for various programming languages. Whereas NetBeans and Eclipse are generally built for the Java environment. So just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to, this course, of course, you have the ability to choose the IDE that you would like. Again, when you're learning Java only, I would recommend that you learn from a Java-based IDE like Eclipse or NetBeans, as they are user-friendly and easy to help you understand the makeup of Java programs. But again, totally up to you. So to set up an IDE, the first thing you would have to do on your computer itself is install the Java JDK that we just covered. Again, that's going to install all the Java tools you need to write Java code. So without that being on your device, your Java files will not work. So you need to make sure that's the very first thing you do. And that can be installed from the Oracle website, as again, they are the ones who own Java. So it is a free install, so no worries there. And once you have your JDK installed, you can download whichever IDE you would like. Again, you can do your own research on the IDEs and whatever fits best for you. And then once that's done, you configure your settings, get your workspace environment ready, and then you should be able to create a test program and test out that setup. So I will do a example download install of all of this in this series. So no worries there. But that is the overall process of how you would set up to start coding in Java. All right, so we made it to the end of our first video. Overall, it was a brief intro video into, programming in Java and the main components of Java, just so you kind of know what's going on in the background and how we would be writing this code. So again, some of this might not make sense to you right now, but it will help you going forward to know that it exists. And again, if you so choose to deep dive into these topics further, please do so. But I at least wanted you to know the main components that are required for you to get started in the Java programming language. So thank you for joining me for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.